I really hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving because we all did, and we're back to talk about sports. We're a little tired, a little bit of turkey coma, a little bit of cold, but we got NFL on in the background. The CFP is almost ready for the final rankings and all kinds of other craziness to talk about. This is the We Don't Know Sports podcast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the We Don't Know Sports podcast. This is Chad the Mark with
Mr. Brown
and
Canadian Biggie.
Just like old times, Thanksgiving puts people down, but we come back here, the same three amigos, the original OGs of the We Don't Know Sports podcast. We do have an additional person joining us later. It's a little surprise, but it's a baseball one, and maybe somebody that has a little bit to do with the Tampa Bay Rays front office, maybe a story about a missing championship ring. I don't know. We'll find out more. But you going to do that one with me, Mr. Brown?
I'm ready to go. I love talking baseball any time of the year, and I text you guys about baseball and signings, and you all shun me and say it's not baseball season. So, yeah, I'm ready for our guest.
I think you can now officially sign people now, right? Did the free agency period
You've been able to sign people for weeks.
Well, nobody was doing anything. So.
I told y'all Aaron Nola signed like 3 weeks ago, and they're like, I thought that it's not baseball season.
I thought that was a re-signing, not a free, so I was confused. I apologize.
Perfect interview for Mr. Brown, who has been getting trampled on. I think it's because, well, it is football season for one, but the baseball and winter meetings, aren't they usually a little bit further into December, and that's where like more big names in the older days, that's where all your big deals went down?
I mean, you'll see some movement this month, but some of the big name free agents have held out into January, February, and sometimes even March. So we'll see. I think Shohei's going to be very interesting because he's also said for his camp that if anybody makes the negotiations public, he's done.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's got that's a lot of trust there. You got to earn Shohei's
So
trust.
like a lot of teams are notorious for letting the rumors out there, and he'll never come to Atlanta ever. But the Braves are very good about keeping their business quiet. And the Yankees aren't, so I don't think he'll ever go to New York.
Mr. Brown, pronounce the name for me of the 25-year-old, three-time Japanese MVP that's coming over.
Why do I want to say like Yamasuto?
Okay. I can't pronounce the first name. The last name is Yamasuto or something to that effect.
Oh, I'm not trying first name here. I'm going with the Giannis factor here. Yeah.
Do you think that the San Francisco Giants land him or Ohtani? Sounds like they're in both, big on both.
I mean, the Giants could make a splash. I mean,
I'm just curious. They don't have to Aaron Judge missed out. They rightly backed
they got money
out
to
on,
spend. They lost on Correa.
Yeah,
they got a ton of money to spend. So I would think more the pitcher than Shohei, honestly.
What about the Brewers? I saw something where they were spending money on their draft pick, and it was supposed to be like the biggest.
Yeah, he's 19 years old. He's never made a major league debut yet, so he's still a prospect. And they locked him up for 8 years at like $60 million or something like that, or $80 million.
I like that move. I think that's a great move because he's
they
not
did
even
the Evan
20 years
Longoria.
old. What is it?
They did Longoria. Remember the Rays did that with Longoria when he was in his rookie or even his second season?
This is uncharted waters, though, because this is a player who's never even got a day of Major League service.
It is, but
this is the first ever.
You're guaranteeing him because at that age, if he starts getting service time, he's going to lose that.
Now
he's going to go to arbitration.
So basically, what that means is he's probably coming up to Milwaukee next year as a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, you're not paying him to sit in the minors. That's for sure.
They think he's ready. Sign the extension.
Yeah, I mean it's the same deal like an Ozzie Albies got, like as far as like monetary wise.
Only he's making double what Albies is.
It's a brilliant move, though.
Ozzie only got 40.
You see a young kid that's
got 80 for Atlanta.
He got 40.
Oh, you're right.
Acuna only got 100.
Well, maybe I was thinking of Acuna. I thought Acuna got more than that.
Like he got shorted about $300 million by his agent. He needs fired on the spot.
What the Brewers did, what the Braves did right there. You can see how good they are now. You project how good they're going to be. Lock them up young, a little bit cheaper than you would get them. Pay them later.
And I'm not going to say it because I'm a Braves fan, but like look at the blueprint. This is what any team needs to emulate because the only question we have heading into next season is which starter are we going to get? Is it going to be Dylan Cease or Blake Snell or someone like that? Or who's our left fielder? I mean, that's it.
Every day, Eddie.
Now, Yasiel Puig is coming back, and you're putting him in left.
No.
That's what happened.
No. But they are on the finalists of Dylan Cease, though. And he's an Atlanta kid. So imagine him being your third starter.
I like Dylan Cease.
Behind Freed and Strider.
Here's the thing with the current version of the Braves. They've all these pitching prospects that are supposed to be so good. And a couple, like Freed's dynamite, none of them stay healthy throughout the year.
They've hit on all the fielders, but the pitching has been a damn shit show.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad other than Strider. He's about the only one.
When healthy, it's not terrible, but like when you look at the sum of the body of work from all of their
there's
prospects.
a reason you threw, what'd you give, $20 million to
Charlie
Morton to come back this
age
last
40, Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
But he's a Bulldog, man. He's throwing 97 in his age 40 season, so you can't get mad at him. But I could talk about the Braves all night. So what else we got?
I don't want to go a ton of baseball. We're going to talk a little bit more of that later. I meant to just start with this. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? How was your all's Thanksgiving? I haven't really talked to you about that. I finally am done working retail. I did Black Friday. I did this Saturday. I had a Sunday off, and then Monday. It's a new day. Yes, it is. But Thanksgiving, it was a whirlwind. I had family in. How was your all's?
I had a really good Thanksgiving. Me and the kids went down to Wayne, West Virginia, and had
Wayne. You're supposed to say out Wayne.
Out Wayne. We went out Wayne with my dad and stepmom and Kimberly and Travis. Big Reds fan, Travis is.
Yeah.
Marshall alum, Indiana Hoosiers alum also. He went to a bunch of colleges. And we had a lovely meal. Visited for a little while, came home that night, fell asleep in the chair to a fire. Perfect day.
See, I didn't think it was cold enough for a fire.
It wasn't.
You just
It was when the sun went down.
I don't know. Not in the house. Maybe it was outside. If you slept in the chair in the driveway.
No, I actually just pulled in one of the lawn chairs, put it on my my mankini, and just right there. Had the kitty with me.
That's an image I'll never forget. So speaking of fires, I'm sitting here next to the wall fireplace we have because I'm a baby and it finally got cold and I wasn't really dressed for the cold today. But man, it felt like January this week, and I guess it's going to finally get back to being warm. But I am not ready for winter, and I know you got the peak season, Mr. Logistics, and is that kicking your ass yet?
It's already kicked my ass in the first week, but it's fine. We'll get through it, and I'm looking forward to January.
How was Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah. So it was the weirdest Thanksgiving I've ever had in my life, in my whole existence in 41 years. For one, it was just me and the kids, and then my mom has cooked Thanksgiving dinner at her house since 1988, and this is the first time that she has went elsewhere for Thanksgiving dinner. We actually went to my sister's house, and we had it there, which was odd. It turned out great, just different.
Yeah.
Me and Landon went fishing because there's a family pond there. We did some fishing on Thanksgiving, which is what else do you want?
Catch anything?
Not even a bite. It's crazy. But the football's on. We're eating good. We're fishing. The sun was shining. The only weird thing was my daughter was in Florida with her friend on vacation without us, and it was just me and my son. So just different.
Yeah.
But good. It was very relaxing.
That's
A lot of good football that day.
That's how this holiday should be, and I'll use that to kind of bridge into the NFL. So we do have the Thursday night game on. We were off last week because of Thanksgiving, but man, the NFL has just absolutely taken over. They did the Thursday games, which they went from 2 to 3 a couple years ago. So we have the three-peat on Thanksgiving. You got the Black Friday game this year. I mean, it was a hell of a weekend for football, man. Like even college, and we'll get to that too. But like, just I loved every minute of it. I got to enjoy some football. But man, the poor Detroit Lions.
I was going to say, man, the Lions are going to lion on Thanksgiving Day no matter what. Like, I was so happy for them to be rolling in there with a good team and break some kneecaps, and then all of a sudden, the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love just ran it up on them like old-timey sick. You almost thought like Favre or Rodgers came out that tunnel that day.
Well, Rodgers might be coming out of town.
Yeah, that's a good.
We'll get there.
Good segue.
But yeah, Jordan Love's that guy. Apparently, maybe.
No, it's all about the moon cycles. I told you fellas this.
I don't believe in Jordan Love. I'm just saying that now.
Lions are now 0-13 when the moon is in the waxing Warhol phase that it was in.
What did he say?
Waxing Warhol.
Butthole.
Waxing butthole face.
The particular phase
But
that the
Deshaun
moon was
Watson
in,
phase.
the Lions were 0-12 on Thanksgiving going into it, and they lost again. Lions are a little hard to believe in. They're kind of like the Dolphins. They lose games against, well, the Dolphins just lose games to good teams. But
The
I
Dolphins
really
and the
thought the
Cowboys
Lions
are like
were
the
going to
same,
win.
man.
Don't even say that.
I feel like they are.
So listen, do y'all even look at the point of when you're doing your power rankings? Do y'all even look at the plus minus ever?
Like the
Sometimes
points?
I do, but this last week I did not. I haven't actually for
Yeah.
3 weeks.
I haven't either.
Like,
Why do you bring that up? You have something specific?
no, I'm just saying. If you look at Dallas, they're just. I know they destroyed some bad teams, but like they're way ahead of the Dolphins, and the Dolphins beat the Broncos by 50.
I haven't compared the two, but I can't say I'm surprised because I feel like every time the Cowboys play some of their divisional foes, like the Giants or the Commanders,
Soon to be
it's-
Redskins again.
It is just a massacre. It is terrible.
Well, they beat bad teams by a lot of points, which you beat the bad teams. You're better
I'm
than them.
going to give you this bold take right now. If Dallas would knock off Philly in the playoffs and NFC playoffs, it would not surprise me one bit.
That would be like a Super Bowl
No,
for
you
them.
mark it down. If Dallas has a team that's good enough to make the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Like, you know what Philly looks like right now? Philly's the number one team in our power rankings, and that's across the board. But they're not elite. And, you know, Brady got a lot of shit for coming out this week and saying, well, the NFL's kind of mediocre. But I don't know. I don't think it's mediocre. I think it's just balanced. I think there's not a lot of separation between your top-tier teams and your
Parity's
mid-tier.
always a good thing.
Right, and there is parity. Like, as good as the Eagles are, they got one loss. We've consistently had them as our best team in the NFL for how many weeks? But when do they murder people?
They never I think their point differential honestly is only around 30 for the whole year. On the positive side, of course, but these dudes find ways to win, and in their scenario, they are who they are. They find ways to win, and winners do that. So you can't just they're not blowing nobody out, but like every day they line up, they're going to be the favorite.
I mean, well, they're not this week.
Oh shit! Then I take it back.
Aha, we'll get to that on our other
Major
show, the
disrespect.
NFL Stone Cold Lead Pipe Locks. We'll get to that later. But what were you saying, Biggie?
No, it's major disrespect, but winners win. They came off the Super Bowl loss last year. A lot of times the teams have a bad
They
hangover.
get that hangover, yeah.
They got the best record in the league. They're like 6-1, 7-1 in one-score games. They are playing great late. Look at the last 2 weeks. They're down 17-7 both weeks at halftime, right? Both weeks they come back in the second half and win. I mean, yeah, they're not blowing people out, but at the end of the day, a win's a win. They're going to be the 1 seed. You're going to have to go in there, whether you're Dallas or San
Look
Francisco.
at that right there. I hate to
try and
cut
get
you
to the
off,
Super
but
Bowl.
Dak Prescott, 17 pass TDs in the last 5 games.
I don't hate Prescott, man. I don't think Dallas is bad. I just need to see them beat some top-tier teams.
I like
When I
Dallas
look at-
just because I do feel like their defense could do some damage in the playoffs.
I think it's because of Dolly Parton.
God,
When
that
I
was
look at
terrible.
those numbers there, I think of the quarterback for Nitro and Mark McCarthy's at coach. Ooh, we're up 30 in the fourth. Let's throw another touchdown, Dak. There's a reason I sent Kellen Moore packing.
But Gino's hurt, isn't he? Doesn't he have a shoulder injury
strain,
or something? Yeah. I mean, like, I watched the game that he drove him down the field at the end and they missed the field goal. But, like, they put Drew Lock in. He throws an interception, and they're like, put injured Gino back out there. That's the best option we got. And he did almost win the game. But Gino's slightly above average quarterback when healthy. If he's not healthy, I feel like Dallas is probably I picked that. I'm just going to say it. I got Dallas to cover tonight. And it was a big spread. What was it, 9?
9.5.
It was 9 when we picked.
You got the half?
Yeah, I got the half.
Who did you pick?
Oh, I took the Fighting Genos.
Yeah, because he got that half.
You got the half. That's
We
why.
all talked about it, and it was like, it's
I
9.
was like, it's a push or not. I mean, damn it.
let me wait till I get that half.
No, I would have taken them anyway for one reason. Dallas is the much better team, but I feel like Seattle
Bro, it's at home.
Seattle has had a whole week coming into this game because they also played
you're
on
crazy.
Thanksgiving.
That is
They've
true.
had a few days extra to prepare. And for Seattle right here,
They both played on Thanksgiving.
But only one of them played at home.
Yeah, and
Both
you know who's
games.
playing at home tonight? You know how bad they beat people at home?
Well,
Well, we'll find out what they do tonight. This game is more important for Seattle than it is for Dallas.
So it's the desperation.
They're 6-5. They went from first place in division. They lost 2 straight. Seattle's hot. They need to win this game and get that mini bye and try to get into the Pete Carroll's not coaching for a rebuild. He wants to be in the playoffs. So.
We're going to see that desperation when they lose by 20.
And you know, it just goes to speak about the parity in the NFL, man. Like, we're sitting here. I'm with you. Like, Seattle's probably going to lose tonight. I picked Dallas to cover, but don't listen to me.
Look at that damn suit, son.
I'm the worst. Oh, my God, I'm blind.
Yeah.
Taylor Rook's rocking the –
shot the earrings to match it.
And
so
Chad,
bright.
we know you're colorblind, but that's bright yellow. She looks like she's a
road
traffic
construction
enforcer.
worker.
She's something. Man.
Crossing guard.
I'm seeing
Paul
spots.
Blart, traffic cop.
The thing I was going to say, as we're wondering why this bright yellow power suit's on TV, the Seahawks are still a good team, and you wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs. But like, it also feels like it's over. You know, I mean, it's so wild.
Yeah, I feel like for the Seahawks, if they lose this game, there's no way they're going to make it into the playoffs because there's a couple other teams that are playing well. Like, this is supposed to be a rebuild season for Sean McVay and the Rams. They've been playing really well lately. Somebody has to get in from the NFC South. Team gets in from the North. Maybe the Vikings at 6-6 haven't played
I was
well.
going to bring up the Vikings. Don't you feel like they're starting to like show that they can sustain this?
Backwards.
I feel like Dobbs, they're starting to question that now after that little bit of magic, and they already said they're reevaluating things during this bye week.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you got
I feel like Minnesota's trending down.
I would agree they are at this point.
All right,
But when you look at teams in the NFC, locks into the playoffs, San Francisco, Philly.
Oh, it's definitely
Dallas,
the upper echelon and everyone else. I mean, you're right. Anybody else could slide in.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go through the power rankings real quick and just, you know, I don't know where you guys had them at. I kind of do it anonymously. As the texts come in, I just fill it out and then I resort.
We all see the text, Chad.
But you never see mine. You never know where I got
That's
people.
true. You're always.
That's because Chad determines where the teams are. He's like, you have them at 7? No, they're 4.
That's not me.
Just to push them down where they need to be.
That's Turbo, first of all, not me.
No, he meant if you don't like where you see a team, you can influence it by ranking them that
I always do mine before I see yours.
All right, fair. That's fair.
I have to because you're right. I would 100% do that. I would see like, well, you got the Chiefs here, you sons of bitches.
Chiefs at 7.
So we got the Eagles as number 1. That was across the board. We had the Niners at number 2, but one of us had the Niners at like 6 or 7.
That's Turbo.
That was terrible.
Yeah,
I had the Niners at 2.
Let's start calling him Terrible Tommy.
I had them at 2 or 3. I feel like on the Niners, now that they've had the bye week, everyone's got healthy. They made the trade for Chase Young. Yep. The Niners are back.
Who's been playing well for them?
The trade for Chase Young is huge, but it's amazing what can happen to an offense when you get Debo back.
Yeah, everybody's healthy.
Brown's back. Yeah, everybody's healthy.
All right, Ravens, we got at number 3.
So what's funny about that, as dominant as the Ravens have been, is there any team you trust less up 10 or 14 points in the fourth quarter?
No.
Man, how do they blow some of those games?
I don't know. You know what? Their defense, though, like, can we talk about the Ravens' defense just for a second, about how good they are? Like, have you been paying attention to this at all? They historically have a defense. Is it passing yards per game? They're like the best since, like, in the modern era, essentially. Like, they give up the least amount of passing yards per game. Their scoring defense is phenomenal. Like, there's talking heads that are giving you conversation points that this is the best Ravens defense ever, which is insanity.
I can't get buy into that. Right. I got to have the.
But maybe if the season plays out, if what these talking heads say are true, we'll find out as the season unfolds. I'm with you. I'm not quite there, but they probably do have the best defense in the NFL right now. Do you agree with that, Biggie?
No, not at all.
Who's better?
Niners.
Maybe. Niners have given up a lot of chunk points, though.
I just feel like overall right now, and I'm not saying it even in a playoff setting, but for my power rankings right now, if the Chiefs and the Ravens lined up, I would give the Ravens a slight edge just because the Chiefs have been so up and down and the Ravens have been doing their thing. So I would actually pick the Ravens to win that game.
Chiefs defense been really good this year.
I get
points-wise.
I get it.
Chiefs are 4th.
Yeah.
We had them
so they're right there.
So we had them right there. The Dallas Cowboys are number 5.
I think that a Ravens Cowboys Super Bowl would be fun.
That would be fun, actually. I feel like the Cowboys, though, we over and underreact more to them than any other team in the
Well, yeah,
that's just
they're
normal.
the Yankees, the Lakers, the Cowboys.
Look at Dion. Dion's here. He over here shaking hands with Jerry Jones and C.D. Lamb.
We're going to talk about him, too. But I said they were similar to me. Dolphins are number 6, like the Cowboys. I feel like they're about the same. The Lions.
Only difference is the Dolphins aren't a contender and the Cowboys are. Next.
That's true. That's why they're ranked higher, only by 1. The Lions, we got at number 7, but I feel like the Lions are a contender, but, man, they just really let us down on Thanksgiving.
I don't feel like they're a contender in the NFC. There's no way they're beating the Eagles or the Niners.
But are they better? You think they'll end up being better than the Cowboys? Or are you pretty good with where the rankings are now?
No, I think they're probably the 4th best team in the NFC. I'm just being honest.
We got the Jags at number 8, and I don't think
Lawrence's numbers are trash, but they keep winning games.
It's like they're like the Eagles, where they just win somehow, and it doesn't always look great statistically, but they're not nearly as good. You know
I look down again. What do they got? 8 wins, 7, 8 wins right now.
They're 8-3.
That's insanity. Because they haven't. I don't feel like they've played well.
They've won. I think they started 0-2 or 1-2, and they're 7-1 since then.
I think
their one loss is by like 97 points to San Francisco.
Who they beat this past week?
Texans.
Who we have next, which is crazy because the week before I think we had them at 10.
And they lost.
They
moved
lost,
up.
and both teams we moved up. So we value the Texans so highly because they're ahead of schedule that when the Jaguars beat them, both of them got a rub from it. That's insane. And then number 10, for the first time all year, the Denver Broncos make an appearance.
They've won 5 in a row, bro.
Can you believe we're sitting here in December almost talking about the Denver Broncos now? What the hell?
Well, not really, because at the beginning of the year, even when they started out bad, I kept saying, give Sean Payton time. Me and you had this discussion, and you shit all over me.
I
said,
Biggie of our group is the biggest Sean Payton fan. I'll give him
Drew
that.
Brees made him. He's done. Russ is cooked. Well, they go through that bye week. He fires the defensive coordinator to make a couple adjustments. They're 6-5. They're creeping towards that last playoff spot.
That's insanity.
I'll eat crow. I will, but the season's not over.
Well, here's what I think, that they finished with like 8, either 8 or 9, 8 and 9 or 9 and 8. Like this win streak they're on's nice. Their over-under for wins to start the year was like 8 or 8.5. So they're on pace to do what they were projected to do when the season started.
But I feel like, though, that Sean, where he's got to watch Russ up close, and then he started making the play calling and the schemes around Russ's positive skill set.
Right.
Whereas a lot of teams don't do that. They just keep trying the same thing and it don't work. Sean said, I got to do these types of things if we're going to be good. And then he's played to Russ's strengths.
And that's the type of coach you really need, right? Like, you got to play to the skill and the talent level you have.
Any player you got that can hold it down, if you play to their strengths, you're going to be successful. But you both got to be on board with what their strengths are.
No, I agree.
And realize the limitations.
And maybe Russ had a little bit of a come back down to earth and say, maybe I'm just what I've always been.
Well, they said that on the last game I was watching against the Browns. The announcer said that after the way the season had started and the way the last year went, Russell actually went to Sean Payton and said, what am I doing wrong? How do I do it differently? And just completely said, all right, whatever you want, let's do it. Which is weird because last year, remember, Russ had his own office on his own floor and all that stuff.
What a ridiculous thing. All right, so we'll see if the Broncos stay in the power rankings come next week. But the other football note I want to talk about, then we're going to jump over to our interview. The college football weekend festivities was amazing. It was rivalry weekend. We had 2 of the best finishes of college games all year. And Mr. Brown, I know you're not a big college football fan, but did you see any of the Ohio State, Michigan, or Alabama, Auburn games?
I watched a lot of the OSU and Michigan game. I didn't see the other one.
Biggie,
I do feel like, though, watching OSU and Michigan, that I feel like that's 2 of the top 4 teams in the country, in my personal opinion. So take it for what you want.
You know what the viewership was for the game?
I don't, but I'd love to know.
Over 19 million people watched that.
That's
Michigan,
amazing
Ohio
number
State
for nowadays for a regular season game.
In comparison, the Alabama-Auburn game drew 9 million, and that's also a huge rivalry. Of course, when you got two of the top teams in the country, number 2 and number 3. The Harbaugh stuff going on, and it's a draw.
The stories write themselves, man. It's like a soap opera up there in Ann Arbor.
Like, I saw a meme and it made me smile, is the fact that Ohio State fans are mad because Michigan has 2 coaches better than Ryan Day.
That's what it seems like. Imagine being an Ohio State fan, being so spoiled that I could be off a little bit on these numbers, but Ryan Day's record is ridiculous.
Do you know what Ryan Day's record is in versus Big Ten teams?
It's like 50-1.
No, against just Big Ten teams.
They might be 50-1 overall outside of Ohio State and the CFP.
Ohio State with Ryan Day is 41-3 against all other Big Ten teams.
That's ridiculous.
They're 1-3 against Michigan.
Right, and they're 1-3 in the playoff.
41-4, I think it is. But
and they want to fire him.
Who's your daddy?
Jim Harbaugh.
Who's your daddy?
Remember when Lloyd Carr couldn't win, or Brady Hoke, or any of them other guys in Michigan? None of them could beat Tressel and Urban, You know
how they always have that thing, and they're like, there's levels to this shit. Well, here in West Virginia, we won 8 games this year, and we're like, woohoo, Liberty Bowl. Up a couple hours up the road in Columbus, they're like, what? You lost to Michigan? What? We're 5, number 6. We're going to win 12 or 13 games again. We're going to play in the Rose Bowl again? No.
Like, hire Lou Holtz.
Lou Holtz lives rent-free in his head. They asked him after the game, and he goes, damn, 3 straight losses to Michigan. That had to be a long ride home.
He just needed somebody to be mad at, and he picked the most feeble old man he could. That was so stupid. But anyway, the other game we got, and then we'll talk about how you feel about the rankings, because the CFP rankings come out, and it's a little odd. But we got Alabama and Auburn. So, Mr. Brown, you know how this game ended?
I'm assuming Alabama won because they're playing Georgia for the SEC.
They were playing Georgia regardless.
I don't know. Did Alabama? They didn't win.
So they had the ball. It was 4th and goal, and they ended up getting a couple penalties. So they get 4th and goal from the
29 or
31. I thought
31. Okay,
4th and goal on the 31 with 8 seconds left or something like that, and they scored.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the play call?
It was I made a little video of it. I'll show you in a second. But it was back corner, end zone. What do you have, 10 seconds to throw the ball?
Yeah.
You mean they didn't run it up the middle?
I mean, they thought about it.
So Don Nealon would have done.
No, Don Nealon would have thrown it, but he would have done a play-action pass. Because we always did that on 3rd and 17 and 4th down.
Yards down
All
the
right,
field.
sorry.
But Nick Saban after the game was talking about, well, that is a play we do practice at the end of the week every week, blah, 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 which I'm sure they do. But that was just really
it was bad defense.
Poorly played by the corner is what I was trying to say.
It was very bad defense. Because, he's got at least 30 yards, so just stand somewhere where you can knock it down. And, this is one of those things where you almost want to keep the receivers in front of you at first and then get in front of them to make a play on the ball. But, nope, they just let him drift behind him, and he catches it, and the game's over. Alabama, their lone loss on the season was to
Texas at home,
who only has 1 loss. So is Ohio State better than Alabama?
Well, I don't know, because I think Alabama's beating Georgia this week.
Do you really?
I do.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put money on it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
You like that hot take, Biggie?
I love it. I'm there with you. I already got money on it.
Shit.
Well, I had to hammer that, and freaking Washington is a 9.5-point dog. Anyway, this weekend, let's say that Alabama loses. It'll be the longest stretch in Nick Saban's tenure they haven't won a national championship. It'll make the 3rd straight year. Even though they played for it 2 years ago, they could make the playoff this year. There are levels to this stuff.
So he's beating Georgia this week.
Georgia's not as good this year as they have been. I 110% agree with you. Ride Bama.
Also, guess what I'm saying? Bo Nix isn't losing again. Oregon.
So let's get.
Whoa! So I got a question for you.
So
Bama, I'm going to read these off to you. So Bama wins. We both think Bama wins. Maybe Chad's the voice of discertainty or
I think it's a coin flip.
Alabama's only loss is to Texas at home. Texas is ranked ahead of them. Texas's only loss is to Oklahoma. So you got Texas 7, Alabama at 8. Alabama beats Georgia. They're a 1-loss SEC champion. They're jumping from 8 to at least 4. There's no way they don't stay in.
God, could you
What
imagine
happens
if they did?
with
That'd be-
Texas? Texas beats Oklahoma State, wins the Big 12. Don't they also have to get in?
This is why you're expanding the
You
playoff.
already said Oregon's winning. Oregon is currently number 5.
Oregon is winning.
Which
Washington's
means they
out.
take Washington's spot. FSU at 4. Do they win or lose? And even if they win without Jordan Travis,
what?
you'll now have
Guess
seen
what?
them for a
Guess
couple
what,
weeks
though?
till you drop them
You don't
out.
have to worry about FSU because they're losing to Louisville.
Ooh, the Ville.
So I mean, I know you're not supposed to hold it against them about the future, but I would be totally okay if the committee takes Florida State out if that they're undefeated.
So
They're losing, though.
are we all in agreement
hope.
that a Georgia loss still keeps them in? They don't drop further than 4?
It depends on how they lose.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a close game, I would agree.
So if we do that, we got Georgia and Michigan in. Washington loses, they're out. FSU is out, even with a win, we'll say, but they lose. Now all of a sudden you got 2 spots left. Oregon's number 5, they won.
Oregon
Texas
comes in.
is 7, they won. Alabama's 8, they won.
No, it's clearly Oregon over Texas.
So you're telling me that
I am telling you that.
Who's
Oregon
beat?
gets in and Alabama gets in, and OSU and Texas are on the outside looking in.
Correct.
Who's Oregon beat this year?
Washington.
I mean, that's their
Yeah.
okay. Sometimes
USC?
it helps.
They don't matter?
It helps when it doesn't. USC's nobody.
Damn it.
What's USC's record? 6-4.
The Caleb Williams.
7 and 5, they
7-5?
finished.
They were 6-4.
But now the interesting thing here, if you look at the bottom half of this, is what I always look at is how the committee sets
Why would you
things
think
up.
Texas would jump in over freaking Oregon?
You're telling me a one-loss Texas can't get into the damn national picture?
No, my point is, if they both win and Oregon's already ahead of them. then why
No,
would
Oregon's going in if they win, guaranteed.
That's my point.
What I meant was,
If it
how
comes
does
down to an Oregon and Texas decision, though,
well, no, it comes down to a Texas-Alabama decision.
It's Alabama.
Because Oregon's in, but your other team. So if it plays out the way we say with these wins,
Alabama.
well, Oregon could lose a pack.
Alabama jumps Texas. They're 8 and Texas is 7.
you got 2 spots for 3 teams.
Yeah.
We all agree Oregon's in with the win.
Who's Oregon play in the?
They play Washington, undefeated.
Okay.
So your one last spot's going to come down to, do you give it to one loss Texas, Big 12 champion, or one loss Alabama, SEC
clearly.
champion?
That's it.
You got to
It's
give
Alabama.
the SEC champion gets in no matter
It's
what.
Alabama.
That's what I think too. But
Has to.
how did they jump Texas, who's the only team to beat them, and they did it at home?
Because it happened in September.
Exactly. Wake me up when September ends.
Wake me up
Well, I love how they weight these.
when Alabama wins.
So what they did this last week was they moved Utah out of the top 25, which would be a weighted victory for Oregon.
trying to hurt Oregon.
Oh,
And they
now we
moved,
trying to wait the
Conspiracy
schedule here.
thereries.
They moved Tennessee up to 21.
What'd they do
That's
with
which
Louisville?
is a weighted victory.
What
for
they
the
do with
SEC.
Louisville?
Louisville fell to 14.
Oh, that's not far enough.
Yep.
Louisville's going to move up after this week.
But I was thinking maybe they would move Louisville down as well in case Florida State pulled it out. That way they could justify Biggie's, conspiracy theory here.
I'm telling you. It's going to be a fun weekend for college football, boys.
I got all the angles covered.
All right, I just need you alone. I just want to hear your voice of reason. I need the 4 that you would put money on to make the CFP.
If I were wagering, I would take Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Texas.
Wow.
He better say Texas after that last segment. He can't go Alabama there.
All right, he's just got to go out with this. We're going to end the segment.
He's
with
got to
this.
go where his mouth is.
Biggie, is Texas back?
Guess who's back? Back again.
Texas is back?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm excited now. And they're going to the SEC. So now we'll get 3 SEC teams in the playoff.
Big Timber Brewery and Tap Room is located in the heart of Appalachia, Elkins, West Virginia. Their name pays homage to the surrounding forests and the industry that built the community. Big Timber makes beer we love and enjoy doing it, creating a product that we, our town, and our state can take pride in. What started as a dream became a reality in 2014 when their first keg went out the door. Their commitment to beer and community continues to grow stronger every day. Pick up a pack of Big Timber at your local store today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we went and found a guest that I don't know. I think he's got a story to tell, a little bit of intrigue with his time with Major League Baseball. We got Mr. Jeff Macolino, and you have a podcast you do as well, sir. You want to go ahead and give a shout out on that?
Sure. Yeah, I do the Jeff Macolino podcast, creatively named, of course.
Who's the host of that, by the way?
His name is Jeff Macolino. It kind of worked out that way. It's a weekly podcast, and generally I drink heavily and talk to whoever, someone interesting, hopefully.
we may be known to do almost the exact same thing. So so what's your beverage of choice? What do you like to down?
I'm a whiskey guy. I'm a Canadian whiskey guy, to be honest.
Is that just Canadian Mist and Crown Royal or something else?
Canadian Club. That's the baller on a budget drink of choice. Crown Royal is my favorite, but gotta watch the wallet.
Are you a regular Crown or like the green apple, or do you? I mean,
no, I like Crown Royal Black, but none of the other flavored stuff. No, that's not my style.
Now, are you one of those douchebags that keeps all the little purple bags and just has like 50 of them around the house that you store various trinkets in and whatnot?
I have probably about 200 of them.
Yes,
but they're all shoved inside of other Crown Royal bags.
I do that at my house with Walmart bags and Dollar General bags.
That's when you know you made it. Is that you don't use Walmart bags? I use Crown Royal bags.
When I go to the Aldi's and I need to use my recyclable shopping bags, I use my Crown Royal sachets.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a picture of a guy who had a all velvet jumpsuit made out of Crown Royal bags, and that's
amazing.
Kind of the idea of why I keep them. I'm like, at some point, I'll pay a seamstress like $500 to build me a suit.
I'll do it for 25.
I bet his cane was purple, wasn't
it?
Well, even if you don't have enough for the full bodysuit, at least do like a top hat or something.
Yeah, you got to have a cane or a top hat.
I think I have enough because I always buy the 1.75 liter bottles too. So it's just more coverage, more velvet.
Right. I mean, if you're going to do a podcast, you need that size. So I like the lid, by the way. I don't know if I've seen that logo in a while. So
it's the throwback Devil Rays style. It's they wear them, I think, on Friday or Saturday games now, home games. So once they brought this back, I'm like, well, I gotta get one.
That's the Wade Boggs, Fred McGriff, Greg Vaughn days, right?
Oh yeah, the good old days, the Jose Canseco days.
Yeah. All right, so you're St. Pete, Tampa guy, born and raised, right? And I see the background. I see a lot of USF Bulls that going. I just want to say, and no one listening to the podcast is going to know what the hell we're talking about, but. Man, Matt Grothe, I hated that guy. He was such a dog. Man.
That's when I went to when I was a student there. Matt Grothe was the quarterback, so I kind of got to go during the good times.
That's the best time ever for South Florida. You guys were awesome. They actually would fill the upper deck of the new sombrero there. That was good times. We're Mountaineers, so there was that little brief rivalry. We would whip everybody in the Big East, but South Florida, for some reason, always seemed to have our number.
That 07 game was, I think it was a Friday night game, was one of my best moments in college for sure. When we actually got to go on, rush the field after the game. It was more like a slow trickle because we're not allowed to because it's the Bucs Stadium, but yeah, they squeezed in over capacity for that game.
Those are good times for us, man. We miss being able to be a draw. We've been not relevant for quite some time as well. But I want to say, though, George Selvey is the most missed guy I ever had as a prediction on someone I thought was going to be like a lock to be this phenomenal NFL player. And he just never did crap because he was a monster, just a monster. Do you remember George Selvey?
No idea.
Oh, he was a deep. He made Jason Pierre-Paul get to the NFL. That's how good he was.
Yeah, that D line was something. But yeah, other than JPP, not a lot of pro success from any of those guys.
That's all right. I think you had a couple safeties and things like that. This isn't the South Florida Bulls podcast. So, you worked with the Rays for a while in the front office. So were you the coffee guy? Were you the assistant to the traveling secretary? Like what was your role? What'd you do there?
So I started right out of high school. I was just at the media credential table. So everyone coming in had to get credentialed, which was a cool gig. They told me just show up, pay me a few bucks to hand out credentials until the game starts. Then they said, you can go home. I said, well, can I stay and watch the game? And I talked to Rick Vaughn, who was the president of communications, for probably an hour that night during the game. And he's like,
wait, why don't you the Rick Vaughn?
Yeah. Ricky.
Yeah, not that Rick Vaughn, but he got that a lot. But he had me go down to the clubhouse after the game and get quotes. And I think my very first game was Hideo Nomo's 200th victory in professional baseball. So, it was a mess down there with the Japanese reporters and everything. And, from then on, every year I got brought back as a communications assistant and just did it year round from there. So I started in Lou Pinella's last year, and then I left there after 2009 when the transformation from the Devil Rays to the Rays happened. So
you couldn't stand for that. You were like, if they're not the Devil Rays, then I don't want to be a part of it.
No, everything just turned around overnight, man. When they changed, I still remember that we had a big launch party of the new uniforms and everything, and I got to spend 3 or 4 hours in a hotel room with. I didn't get any of the players. I got Don Zimmer, Wade Boggs, Fred McGriff, Dave Martinez, and Tom Foley and myself are sitting in a hotel room just talking baseball for 3 hours before
That's
this
awesome. That's
event.
Amazing.
And yeah, we all crammed into a tiny elevator when we were going to walk across the street to the thing. And I'm just like, man, if this elevator crashes, I'm not making the newspaper.
Well, I was wondering, like, if you showed up with that crowd, is anybody looking at you like, who's that guy? I don't recognize him,
When we walked through the lobby, yeah, I think they were like, who's the kid? Like, I look like I should be someone.
When I think of like Yogi, I also think of Don Zimmer. I feel like Don Zimmer's kind of like Yogi, but not like, like he's that type of baseball personality. And the fact you got to share an elevator with this guy, he's like baseball royalty. It's amazing.
It was awesome just having a conversation with those guys. And we were talking about baseball, and they included me in the conversation too. I was actually talking some, but whenever Don Zimmer would speak, it was just everyone just stopped listened. And just and you're talking Wade Boggs and Fred McGriff.
Yeah. Two Hall of Famers stop when Don Zimmer speaks.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah, that was one of the most amazing experiences.
Earlier, there's layers to this shit.
Yeah. For a 20-year-old kid, that was quite a moment.
That's amazing.
So you end up leaving, working for the Rays, but I also read that you got an ALCS ring, but something happened to it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I bought my first house, my soon-to-be ex-wife or soon-to-be wife, whatever you want to label her as back then.
There's a big story there, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, literally. One day before we got ADT over to set up the home security system, house got broken into, and the ring, it was just temporarily inside of a little firebox just to, keep it safe. And they, of course, took the firebox. So it made the local news. And then for like 2 or 3 years after that, I'd get a phone call. Anytime someone would find a replica ring that they gave out as a giveaway the next season, and they would call the Rays and say, hey, can you contact Jeff? I think I might have got his ring at a garage sale for $5. And I'm like, well, first off, nobody's selling that for $5. Second off, my name's on there. So if it doesn't say Macolino, it's not mine. So never found, unfortunately.
That's heartbreaking. Would you go get yourself a replica or anyone, like, just so you had something to hold on to, or you still hold out hope maybe one day it returns?
I pretty much given up on holding out hope because I think at this point, would have popped up somewhere. I had the letter with the details of the ring, and I just thought, I don't know, because if it's even slightly different, I don't know that I'd appreciate it at all. So now it's just, I got a picture when I got the ring with Joe Madden and Andrew Friedman and Stu Sternberg. So, I've got that at least.
So I have one question about the Tampa Bay down there in the Tropicana field. Okay. So I went down there like 2 years ago, first time ever. Everyone like around baseball is like, it's a dump, blah, blah, blah. But to me, I was happy to get out of the hot sun. I was happy to be in air conditioning. That was great. But they're talking about making the change, right? So what's that going to do for the attendance
about the
down
new
there?
stadium?
Yeah.
Can they fill it?
Is that going to change anything, I guess? Because I keep hearing about no one comes because of traffic. It's hard to get in and out. So when they do this change, is it going to matter?
No, I don't think so. The stadium should look nicer, but I don't think it's I think they're going to be able to get more sponsorship type stuff and maybe more suite sales and stuff like that. But I don't think you're going to see more asses in seats. Honestly, I don't, because they're building it the same location, which I've always loved it as the St. Pete guy. But that's just I'm also a proponent that they might as well change their name to the St. Petersburg Rays if they're staying here.
So it should be in Tampa then, right? Clearly. I mean, like, where should it be?
Like, where would it draw?
If it would draw, exactly.
I don't know that it would draw anywhere. I think baseball season's just during a weird time in Florida.
Is that just Florida baseball?
Yeah, because Miami clearly...
Get them out of there.
Yeah,
I want that to be Braves country.
Well, it's just that there's so many things to do in Florida in the summer, and a lot of people travel during the summer. So it's kind of a weird, I say that now. The Bucks don't draw well either, and they're in Tampa. The Lightning had the longest sellout streak of any team in the NHL, but they were kind of a little dynasty there for a while. So
that helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But the Rays really have no excuse, as far as winning, there's no excuse for people not to show up. The TV ratings are in the top half of the league. So people watch, they just don't get there.
They're literally like a top 5 team in baseball in the last decade, and no one shows up.
Yeah, the organization has ran phenomenal for the amount of revenue,
it's amazing,
lack of revenue they don't get from ticket sales and whatnot.
I've never seen a franchise do more with less than the Braves.
I'm surprised about the TV viewership. I'm not going to fact check you. I believe you, but that stands out to me. That's a little odd that many Tampa fans tuning in on the TV.
Yeah, well, it's a good product, but just people don't like to get there physically, and frankly, the way they've gone out in the playoffs the last few seasons, just sad. Not entertaining at all, not scoring any runs. That lingers in people's heads. Even all season, the Rays were scoring runs again this year, and then again, everyone in the back of their head said, "Yeah, but can we score anything in the playoffs?" And no, they could not.
I mean, to their defense, though, I feel like the last 3 seasons, one of their best starters has always went out right down the stretch. And then you're like, that dude's been killing it. And now all of a sudden you don't have him anymore. So you're expected to win with your number 2 or 3. It just don't work. I mean, I feel like, what is it, McClanahan?
Yes. McClanahan.
He can't
also
stay
a
healthy.
USF grad.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's always something. They have a real bad issue with injury problems, which drives me insane because they're the organization that's the most sabermetric focused, and we can only increase this pitcher's workload so much. But then they're all getting Tommy John surgery. So how much is your math working? I think it's just luck.
Don't be telling Zimmer that shit. Yeah, man. He wouldn't hear that.
I think the metrics tell them to do Tommy John surgery. They're like, go ahead and do it.
Well, they don't come back any worse most of the time. In fairness,
it's like the chicken pox. You just got to get it early.
Take a year and a half off, and we'll see that.
It's like if you don't get it, they're going to send you over to your friend's house that has it to stay the night, just in case. So I do, we're laughing, having a good time here, and I know you got your podcast. You mentioned you also dabble in some stand-up comedy, or maybe more than dabble, even acting. But it's not always a smooth road, little ups and downs. And I was just reading. I was kind of curious about the story, because I know you kind of been through the ringer a little bit, and maybe found a new purpose here later in life. So you want to talk a little bit about just kind of how you found the passions you have now?
Yeah. I left the Rays my last semester in college. I got my then girlfriend pregnant. So I kind of quickly had to jump into a job that had better pay. So I jumped into the awesome world of insurance claims, which is not the most fun. And the thing with that is, if you're good at it, eventually you start getting serious injury cases and deaths. And man, that took a toll on me.
Very morbid things, right?
Yeah. I'm having dreams where, I'm handling claims where children are dead or disfigured. And I've got 2 kids at home, and it's like, it was getting into my dreams, and it's that and a miserable, awful woman boss just drove me to. I had a panic attack in the office.
Why did it have to be a woman? Why'd you have to say that part?
I just want to very much specify it in case anyone I work with. I'd say her name, except for I don't even want to. I don't want to bring her energy into the world.
All right, so this bitch you worked for.
I don't want that shit on me.
yeah. None of that bad energy here. But it got to the point where and I've battled depression my whole life, but it got to the point where I almost finished it. And thankfully I didn't. And through talking to a therapist, my mom, my sister, and even friends, it just became like your job is killing you. Like you're not going to get better if you just keep doing the same thing. Find something you love. And the thing that I had the most passion about was my brother and brother-in-law and I were working on like a comic book comedy type series, and writing that and coming up with those kind of ideas was the most passion and enjoyment I had. So obviously they said, well, do something with that, even if you can't make a career out of it. And I said, well, what if I try to make a career out of it? So I decided to start trying to write comedy screenplays, TV pilots, stuff like that. And in doing so, I would a lot of times write it and say, well, this is good, but it's not funny. So I've reached out to stand-up comedians, and a bunch of them responded, and everyone said, go do an open mic, just do stand-up. You'll figure out ways to make things funny that way, and it'll help your writing. Almost all of them also said, start a podcast. So, at that point, I'm just like, well, I'm going to try everything I can, see what I enjoy the most, see whatever I can make money doing. And basically, that's what I've been doing for almost 3 years now, is just, that's where the acting came in, because I did some local guys YouTube comedy sketch show. And I'm like, well, this is terrible, but the acting is fun. Like the sketches aren't funny, but the acting part, getting to play different characters, is fun. Why don't I try to do that? I basically stalked down a local production company and got myself an audition and got a lead role for my very first acting job.
That's what we call nailing the audition. That's what that is.
Apparently, I sure didn't. It didn't feel like that.
or he was on the couch.
The casting couch?
Yeah, that couch.
Oh no.
Yeah, this was still during the COVID time, so it was a video audition.
This wasn't a Harvey Weinstein movie, was it?
No, they just said wear a mask.
It's not. It wasn't mask. It was something else. Yeah. So hey, a lot to unpack there, man. So like, I think I'm not speaking for all of us, but most of us who do this show, like, we've all dealt with our ups and downs, and I feel like I have crippling anxiety, and we all have different things that we go through. So I'm also glad that you're here to have this conversation with us. So thank you for not unaliving yourself. But the other thing I wanted to kind of ask about, like, you're getting into the creativeness. Like I see that in your conversation. Like you want to be able to create, you want to make people happy, laugh, or whatever. And like I think that's why we do the podcast. Like we do it just because we like talking to each other. We want to share our conversation with the world. And to that point, like they're telling you go do open mic. Mr. Brown here, how would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 your public speaking has improved since we started doing the podcast?
I'm right. I can't talk right now very well, but that's because of this. Anyways, so that was my biggest thing. Okay, was public speaking at work and everything else. But since we started doing this podcast, I was nervous as hell, and then all of a sudden, it just became natural, and you didn't really care, like, about the audience per se, and you just let it flow. And once it became comfortable, man, it was like second nature for me. So now I've had to speak at several public events, charity events and stuff like that. And they just ask me and I stand up and without any preparation, not nervous at all. So it makes you feel good, when you see that development there.
So I want to tie that back to you in the open mic because like, that's something I think about sometimes. I've never had the balls to do it.
But it's something where it's not in your wheelhouse and you're uncomfortable because you're unfamiliar with it.
Yeah. So what's that like? Did you watch some first? Because that's always the advice I hear comics give is they're like, go watch open mics a few times before you go, or did you just jump right into the fire?
I jumped right in with the open mics. I mean, I've watched a lot of stand-up comedy in my life, and I did go to an open mic night in like 2016 or something. So I knew the general
One
gist.
time I saw a comic, so I'm an expert now.
Yeah.
Stand aside, peasants.
Yeah, and I did my research on the club and how long the set was and all that stuff. So I was well prepared with a 5-minute set. The first time I probably was 8 to 10 drinks in, and I've never felt more sober when I was on that. So like it's just the adrenaline. Yeah. Now you get drunk real fast after the set, but hits you like a ton of bricks. Yeah, my first time I did it, I made the awful, stupid mistake of telling some of my friends and family that I was doing it. And open mics, notoriously, most of the audience are other comics who are not really paying that much attention. So there were 9 people in the audience, civilians, and 6 of them were my friends and family members. And I bombed, and it was it was so terrible feeling.
Did you bomb because your jokes were maybe uncomfortable for the family to hear, and you weren't like you weren't ready for that, or was it just that first time jitter thing and just rough?
You know what it was? It was actually technically just a flawed set for a 5-minute set. I had something else in mind that I did a week later in front of 50 people and killed.
Nice.
But I had written in an email to Nate Bargatze for his podcast, telling him about a funny story about a doctor visit. And they talked about it, laughed. And then Nate Bargatze right at the end says, Jeff, if you're a comedian, that would be really funny material.
Wow.
So I'm like, one of the best stand-ups in the world just told me that I should use this. So I'm going to use this story, except for it's not really a story you can tell in 5 minutes unless you cut all the jokes out. So I did watch the video, and it's like, I made 6 jokes in 5 minutes, and 5 of them got laughs. But
it's a good ratio.
It's a good ratio, but not making basically a joke per minute. Not a good, not a lot of attempts there for people to laugh.
It's amazing how big comedy is right now. Just like there's this renaissance of stand-up. I think honestly, when we talk about things like podcasts and just the advent of social media and how it's impacted things, like stand-up is huge right now. And Netflix has done a lot to help. Like they do specials all the time. You talked about Nate being on top of the world. He hosted Saturday Night Live not too long ago. His George Washington skit, one of my favorite ones of the last couple of years. So that was great. What the fuck is a kilometer? But anyway,
that was a good episode, which you can't say that often about SNL anymore.
No, but that's what happens when stand-ups come on, though. They always deliver. So with that being said, I have to ask the question, who is your Mount Rushmore of stand-up comics?
Ooh.
I get in trouble when I answer this question because I Well, I guess I'll ask you. You want me to say my 4 favorites or the 4 best?
Your 4 Mount Rushmore, just your 4, because everyone will give token answers on the best. I want to hear who you like, who speaks to you, who has the power to move you.
First one I got to put on is Doug Stanhope. I don't know if you're
underrated.
Doug he's
Stanhope.
Very dark. He was kind of the person who gave me the idea of, you can be a real authentic person and just make some jokes and tell some crazy stories, and it's okay to be dark and it's okay to be a little weird, but he's always he's a big motivator for me. I love his style and his personality. Let's see, the other 3. I think I probably have to throw Bill Burr in there at this point.
Yeah.
You
don't need to explain. He's phenomenal. I will say,
and he's not slumping either.
No, and I'll give you time to collect your thoughts on these final 2. Doug Stanhope. Do you know who he is? He doesn't promote himself well at all. Like, he just shows up and does shows, and they're amazing. And he can put a few thousand people in a building if he needs to, but like he's not doing this stuff. He's not doing podcasts. Yeah. He's not doing a lot of interviews. He doesn't do social media. But whenever we get a chance to talk to comics, or even if I listen to comics, like, they all hold him in a high regard. So it's not out of left field as much as you might think, at least not to me. I've heard that from others too.
Yeah, no, he's very well respected, and he just lives his quiet life in Bisbee, Arizona. He doesn't care to be in the big cities and try to get TV shows and all that stuff. So I respect him. He loves the craft. My last 2, I'm going to throw a younger guy on there because I think he might be the best guy currently going, Mark Normand.
I love Mark Normand.
I saw him live last year in Tampa, and
so he's coming to our neck of the woods in like March, I think. So I'm looking to snag that ticket for sure. But what
it be at in March?
I think he's at the Clay Center.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you what do you like about Mark Normand? Just expand on that a little bit.
I love the way his brain works. And he's a guy who, you talk about a dream podcast guest. He's a guy who's just always working on material. He'll just hear a weird word come out of someone's mouth and start saying non sequitur, just weird things.
Get him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is.
I like the youth movement there. Let's get up and come.
Who's the last one?
Yeah, who's number 4? Put a cherry on top.
Oh, goodness. Let's give the last spot to Anthony Jeselnik, I'll say.
I am so disappointed.
You don't like Anthony Jeselnik?
No, I just kept waiting for George Carlin.
You wanted one of the big ones. That's why he asked at the beginning. That's why he said, like, do you want my personal or the?
But he's so personal with me, man.
But George Carlin's
my number 1.
But George Carlin's not a comedian. He's a philosopher.
It's both.
Yeah, and it's my dad exposed me to a lot of Carlin and Pryor and stuff like that when I was younger, and honestly, I think probably before I was old enough to appreciate it. So that's where I know if you're doing an all time, those 2 have to be on there for sure.
We did
and Chappelle, man.
Yeah, we did a podcast one night. I think we sit here for like an hour and just watch like George Carlin clips one night. But Chappelle's great.
Oh no!
We got the Thursday night game on the background. You never know what happens.
I got CD, man. I got to keep.
He's rooting for CD Lamb to score some points. I tell you, somebody that I always knew who he was, and I've seen him on TV, and I always thought he was funny. But when you see his real sets, they just are over the moon. And comics revere this guy, and it's Dave Attell.
Oh yeah.
He's amazing, but like the first time I ever saw Dave Attell was when he had that show on Comedy Central called Insomniac.
Yeah. He came to Charleston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, he's one that I like, but no, I can respect your Mount Rushmore and Anthony Jeselnik.
I do like Anthony for real. I like him. I know who that is.
He's you always hear people talk about like comics delivery.
His delivery is amazing.
It's a different.
But he's such a dick, and he delivers it so well.
And when you think it's the punchline, it's not really the punchline. There's a worse, more dark. You talk about dark; it gets dark as it goes. That's your thing. Then you like the darker the better. Is that how it goes?
In general, I think my mind tends to go that way. So yeah, I think that's part of it.
Said.
Yeah, we're gluttons for self punishment, but hey, we got a few minutes here. I want to wrap up because Rotten Tomatoes says that you were a star of a feature film. They got a 54% from the critics out there, so that's got to feel good. So tell us more about that audition. And the movie is Women Want Everything, and that's based off a novel or a screenplay or something. I can't remember.
Off a stage play.
Stage play. There you go. So tell us a little bit about that experience and tell us about that role.
I auditioned. I found this role through, and the director responded to me, and he's like, we weren't even going to audition for these roles for another month. I don't know how you even found this, but here's the sides. Go ahead, send me an audition. He called me after the first audition and said, hey, I'm sending you a little direction and a video of a scene of the play. Do a second audition for me and send it to me. I sent it to him, and a month later he called me back and said, sorry it took so long. You were a month ahead of us, but you got the part. And it was playing Stuart, who's a redneck. I had to do a Southern accent, which
let's hear it. Let's just hear you say West by God, Virginia.
I don't know if this is consistent with the one I did in the movie. West by God, Virginia. He was fast. He was fast. Like it was. So my first audition, the problem was I did a real slow Southern drawl. And I was so focused on that. And he sent me the scene and said, look at it. He's really upbeat. He's energetic. Still has the accent. And I'm like, oh, I'm terrible with accents to begin with. So now I need to, I even made the joke to him. I'm like, I never really thought to ask if my accent was remotely consistent. It's because, it took weeks. We had to deal with delays for the house we were shooting in had mold. So we had to delay for 2 weeks. Then we got hit by a hurricane. So that pushed us back another 2 weeks. So I was getting into this character and then gaps in between. So I didn't even think until the last day. I'm like, shit, I hope my accent stayed somewhat consistent. It's not the greatest, but I am the comedy relief.
It's like Kevin Costner in Robin Hood. Half the movie is English, the other half is just, I had to.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't stay in the accent between takes or any, like a lot of actors were like,
you're not a method actor, Jared Leto or
No, I did. I listened to country music, which I don't usually do on the way to the set. I tried to be a little this character's kind of a dirty filthy, like hygienically. Yeah. So I tried to sometimes enhance the amount of sweat on my body or just splash water on my, so just little details like that. But no, when they said action, I did the accent. When they did not, I was out of.
So what type of character was this outside of being a redneck? He was just a dirty guy. What was your motivation here?
Well, I took him on. So this movie is about 4 misfit friends who are trying to figure out what women want. And Stuart's kind of the dumb one, but I kind of took it on as he's just a little ignorant to the outside world. He grew up as like a pig farmer and, he doesn't know that you're supposed to, wipe your ass until all the poop's gone. Just simple things like that. He's very wise though. He just doesn't know how to, hygienically and socially interact with the world.
We say that, we call that street smarts around here.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how I took him on. Is I thought he is the wisest of these 4 people that all think he's an idiot. So that's kind of how I wrote into it. And things went well. A lot of laughs at the premiere. I was lucky, Rod Grant, the guy who wrote and played one of the other leads, he told me at the rap party afterwards, he's like, "Oh, you got the biggest laughs from the audience." I'm like, "Well, I was reading your lines, so that's a credit to you."
Learn to take a compliment. It's okay. Learn to take the compliment.
Yes, yeah, no, it was a great experience, and especially being able to be a lead your first time out, it kind of spoils you a little bit, but aside from that,
that's better than starting from the bottom. So, hey, we got like a minute and a half left, and we got to pay some bills. So, your podcast, give me a 30-second synopsis to let our listeners know what to expect on your show.
The Jeff Macolino podcast. Just tune in. I got different guests every week, ranging from paranormal experts to astrophysicists, a lot of comedians, actors, and I drink a lot, sometimes a lot more than others, and those episodes can be a little hairy. But hey, I tell people there's an episode for everyone. Just read the show notes, and you'll see what kind of guest I have, and you can guess from there.
Man, sounds good, brother. Hey, I appreciate you coming on the We Don't Know Sports podcast. And if you ever want some reciprocity, or however you say that word, I'm from West Virginia, don't hold it against me. I'll come on your show anytime you need a guest, buddy. But hey, make sure you give Jeff some support. Give him a follow out there. Find his podcast. Give him a listen. Damn, man, I can't believe it's been 45 minutes already. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, both of you guys.
All right. And I love the Rays hat. I'm going to put a picture of that online.
Yeah.
We'll see you, buddy. Thanks, Jeff.
See ya.
Don't forget to follow us on all forms of social media: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll keep bringing you new content wherever you get it. Special recognition to Mr. Brown's Labor of Love, a growing Facebook group, America's Pastime for the Love of Baseball. There, hundreds of former big league players, umpires, managers, announcers, and writers interact with our fans to talk all things baseball. Make sure you find our other Facebook groups as well and give them a like, a follow, and a subscribe to We Don't Know Sports on all platforms.
All right. Well, once again, we had a great time talking to our guest. Are you guys okay? What is wrong with what's going on?
No, we're great. Go. Continue on, sir.
No, you guys are always great. That's why I show up here every week.
The mental issues that join this group together so tightly are on full display right now.
Have you seen there's a meme where somebody has a video and it's like, me and my friends started a podcast and it's the end of War Dogs and they're arresting them. And like, that's what would happen. We've avoided jail time so far, so that's not bad. That's good for us.
Not Facebook jail time, but regular jail time, yes.
No, you got a life sentence.
Yeah.
They put your ass in Alcatraz.
You guys are in presence of a criminal.
A mastermind.
Yeah.
Something.
Anyways.
I hate Facebook.
Yeah, it sucks.
Social media just, I don't know. I had something TikTok. First video I ever got pulled on TikTok wasn't a video. I did pictures of the one where you had to draw in the imagination. And they got me for violence because of the Mortal Kombat, looking picture.
Oh, finish her.
Yeah.
You put that where?
On TikTok.
For our page.
Yep.
Oh. Damn,
I'm surprised
Chad.
those Chinese people didn't like that and take it as their own.
It's the only thing I've ever had taken down that I've put on that
You didn't put them all on there.
Oh, yes, I did.
They didn't care about the one with the girl with the penis.
Maybe I didn't put that one.
Exactly.
I can't remember.
You put the broccoli on there.
It said it violated community
you
standards.
put that she got ran over by a car.
It said violence is why I got in trouble.
Yeah, it's probably the car.
It's definitely not the decapitated head, floating head.
Finish her.
Oh,
fatality.
Speaking of violence, Biggie was talking to me about the movie Oppenheimer, which killed a lot of people in theory. But so you said
hundreds of thousands.
So it's a long movie. We talked about
3 hours long.
We talked about Killers of the Flower Moon being not worth the time to watch. Oppenheimer, is it all hype? Is it good? Scale 1 to 10. I need to hear. Give me some details.
Depends on what you think you're getting when you go into it. You think if it's named Oppenheimer.
It's a Nolan movie, right? Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
I know what a Nolan movie is.
So on the outside, you think Oppenheimer, they're going to talk a lot about the war and building the bomb. No, it is like an Oppenheimer documentary, and it paints him out to be who he was throughout his life from childhood studying up until post-war. They've got stuff in there that they actually took the the words out of the transcripts from 54 and 59 when he was going through his government stuff where he was like, hey, just because we built this doesn't mean we should keep building them. And then he got his government clearance pulled and all that because, you can't go against the government wanting to, build bombs.
No, we know that.
So it went a lot of back and forth. It went from post-war to pre-war. I loved how it was laid out, but it was more of a documentary about him, the person, than about the atomic bomb.
Yeah. No, and I think that's kind of what I expected anyway, because it is called Oppenheimer and not the Manhattan Project or whatever else it is. But, I'm good with that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I give it an 8. It was well acted.
Is it better than Barbie?
What's that?
Better than Barbie?
I've yet to see Barbie. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if I rate this as an 8, it's 8 better than Barbie.
So you said a Nolan movie. You're talking about the same one who directed The Dark Knight, correct?
Dark Knight, Inception.
Yeah. Okay. So, you could tell the same because he had that same actor as one of the main characters.
So you watched it too?
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, okay.
I'm just comparing it to the Dark Knight director or whatever.
Clive Owen is good. Yeah. I felt like... oh, my God. Matt Damon. He played his role excellent. I just enjoyed it. I thought it was well played because you got Clive Owen, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., there are a few other
I
big
didn't realize
names
all of them were in this.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a cast.
You won't recognize Robert Downey Jr.
Because he's not Iron Man? He doesn't play Tony Stark in this movie?
The way they have him made, he plays Alan Strauss. So, and then you got a guy that plays, Einstein in there. You got Harry Truman.
Who plays Einstein?
What's this hit right here? Watch this. Turn around.
Wait, Thursday night game.
He jumped over him.
Oh, Diggs.
And then he's like, bam! And knocked him down. But then they started chirping. It was better, fast paced.
This game's like got 8 minutes left till halftime at 17-14.
Yeah.
Dallas.
It's going to be one of the rare games this year that gets the over.
It might be. It might get it by halftime at this rate. Oh, man. So, we're getting ready to run into the darkness time when it comes to movies. Like, we're getting ready to get caught up with all the, lack of activity with the strikes and whatnot. It's going to suck for, like, the next year. You don't have that much stuff coming out unless you want to go watch the Trolls movie. No thanks.
Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I don't give a shit about the writer's strike. It hasn't affected me anyway whatsoever.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's about to.
No, I don't even. It's not going to affect me.
If you don't like watching movies, you're fine.
But my point is, it hasn't hurt my feelings because I feel like it's been slowed down already.
I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just simply stating that there's not going to be very many more movies coming out here over the next 6 months or so.
No, I think that we'll get some out because the reason I say that, they had the writer's strike, but there was stuff in production to that point.
I feel like that's what we've been getting, though.
Yeah, but people are going to want to get their stuff out first before, like the summer blockbuster. So you'll get some out. I don't think it's going to be the cream of the crop.
Is the summer blockbuster still a thing?
Apparently, because Top Gun came out during the summer, didn't it?
It did. You're right.
That was one of the best sequels I've ever seen in my life.
Is that one of the rare times where the sequel actually outperforms the original?
I mean, that one did for me. I can't speak for everyone.
I think it did too. That's why I asked.
I'll say this. That one did. It's one of the rare ones that did, and it outperformed it by a mile, even though you knew what the story plot was going to be before you ever watched it. And on the other side of what you said there, if you're a weekly show viewer, I think you're set further behind than you are as a moviegoer.
Yeah, but I think there's so much out there when it comes to television, though. Like, there's so many. Like, can you name a series that Apple TV does?
No.
I can't either, but there's people out there that subscribe to Apple TV because they want to watch like one show. And I don't know what comes from Apple, but you got Apple, Amazon, Netflix,
Paramount
Hulu,
Plus.
Paramount Plus, HBO Max. All these people are like making shit. It's just too much. And I feel like the quality's gone down. And
I mean, it has,
Yeah,
but
it
like,
has.
how the hell is like DirecTV even still in business?
well, we say that because we've been streaming for years.
No, even with the people streaming shit today, like the regular way.
That's what's going to happen, right? Isn't
How do they even have a thing anymore?
Won't cable packages and like satellite be the thing of the past?
That's what I'm saying. How is it not already?
Right? I mean, you know what started it? Like sports conditioned us that because like who would have thought that just think about this NFL Sunday Ticket. What platform is it on?
Now it's on YouTube TV.
It's on YouTube. I mean, don't get me wrong, YouTube TV, people stream it and all that stuff. But like we've gone to where like DirecTV, that was their market share gorilla that gave them a stake in the game.
That's what kept them in the game.
Because you could only get it with them.
Several years.
And YouTube took it from them?
Yeah.
You're done.
Money talks. Just like Amazon, Jeff Bezos in a Black Friday game.
Let's pretend for a minute we're not sports fans, right? If you're not a sports fan, there's literally like 3 or 4 movie platforms you can get for free, and you don't even have to pay for anything. So why would you keep paying for anything like that?
Right?
Well,
you're not entertained?
We're in the era now where cell phones have pretty much eliminated this. Other than your business, you don't have a landline, right? How many of us our age or even a little bit older have a landline? Maybe your parents do, but they're
I don't have
ones.
no damn landline.
So that same thing is now happening with television as far as cable goes, DirecTV too. Cable will be obsolete just like the landline was in another 10 years.
I think it's going to be obsolete within the next 5 years.
It depends on where you're at.
Already.
In states like West Virginia, it may not be because it's going to take so damn long for us to roll it out and change.
Yeah,
but you're right. Majority of the country. It'll be like when everybody got AOL and we were like, what's that? Yeah, one phone number the whole state could dial into to get on the internet.
Your rural mountainous areas may longer depend on cable because they can actually get access to it.
I was getting pissed because back then when it was so slow, you get on AOL and it was like, damn it, man, I'm trying to get on these group chats and it was like ASL, and I'm 12 years old. I'm trying to get me some girls and like, you know what I mean? It's slowing it down.
All you were getting were guys in Nebraska in their basement lying. You know?
They're like, I'm a 14-year-old female right in your area.
No, they'd never say 14. They always say like 17.
Yeah, probably.
They had to lure you in.
Yeah. Because you're like 12 and you're like, 17-year-olds coming after me.
I remember AOL was so wild. The internet was so small that when Columbine happened, I remember like you could just go pull up the profiles of like Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, and you were like, oh my God, these are the murderers that killed all those people. And like now, you just see garbage on Twitter like every 5 minutes. It's insane how much it's changed.
I just missed the dial-up sound.
There was something about it. The worst was, though, in my house, like somebody be on the computer, and you went and picked up the phone not knowing it. That noise scared the shit out of you because you know you're about to get your ass beat because you just knocked somebody off the internet and they're going to be mad.
And if it was peak time, they're going to be dialing back in for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you get busy signal because in West Virginia, you got one phone number you called. It was the dumbest thing ever. Imagine that company, how big they got. And then they just disappeared. I don't know if people were like, well, they still exist. But it's not what it was. Remember, they bought like Time Warner.
AOL Time Warner.
Time Warner was like 80 years old. And AOL's like 5 years old. And they're like, move, bitch. Get in line. Like, it's amazing. And people worry about like industries all of a sudden dying up. Like, it happens, man. Like, something else is going to pop up and take its place. It always does.
Well, just look at Mark Cuban selling a majority stake.
Dude, I seen that yesterday, and that blew my mind.
Why? I never thought in a million years he would even entertain this.
What caused this? Do you know?
Well, I'll get there. What I was going to say is, how did he get his money? He was a .com guy.
He was. Broadcast.com. It was like an early version of YouTube.
Yeah.
So he sold that. He bought the Mavs for $285 million, and he sold his stake in them for close to $3 billion here recently. God. He's going to remain their governor. And overall, all basketball decisions, though. He's also ended his time with Shark Tank after this season. A lot of people thought it was going to be for a presidential run because he has talked about that in the past. But what it looks is like he's trying to do, he signed a gambling deal with a casino owner from Vegas. They're going to try and come into downtown Dallas, open a casino, build it around where the Mavs facility is, and have a 3 or 4 block area of basketball and gambling.
I was too lazy to click on the link and thought they might be trying to move him to Vegas. And I thought, there's no way Mark Cuban would do that. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, he's trying to bring a piece of Vegas to Dallas.
That's
although he's selling it to avoid conflict of interest.
Yeah,
type thing.
But he's still going to be the governor.
No,
or the owner.
But if it is politically induced, then that's easier to step away from that than having to do all these trusts and things like that we we learned from the Trump presidency, apparently. But here's my question: if Mark Cuban, go ahead.
Could you imagine a debate on stage with Trump and Mark Cuban?
Would Mark Cuban be a viable candidate? What do you think he would?
I don't know. If you
like
I just would enjoy a debate.
He's not 90. Like, he's not an old man.
Would he be yeah, he's only 65.
Yeah,
I feel like his charisma would be enough to hold its own in debates and keep him respectable in the polls. That's what I'm saying.
I think it'd be more than respectable.
I'm just saying. I think he would be.
Depends on what he runs as.
Yeah. I follow him on Twitter, and I mean, he's pretty dialed into a lot of different things that would be part of what you have to know to run for president. So I think he would. Yeah. I think he would hold his own.
Where would you say he is? Right, center, center left, or far left?
I think he's slightly center right.
Okay.
Slightly center
Most
right.
rich people are.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why. He's definitely not left, and he's definitely not right. He's center-ish.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for the Mark Cuban political drama. That'll be interesting. But I got to wrap up with a couple things here real quick. We don't talk wrestling often, but we do occasionally. And we had
that would be what not often is.
We had Survivor Series over the Thanksgiving holiday, and we had the return of CM Punk in WWE, so hell officially froze over. I guess the fallout from AEW was so bad, but Punk figured that he probably still wanted to wrestle. Or maybe he's just poor and needs money. I don't know. They say he's good with his money, but did you ever think he'd be back in the E?
I'm very, very surprised. The only reason I think that he's back in there or that it could happen is the fact that Vince McMahon, it's Endeavor now, not Vince McMahon.
Yeah. And you know, Triple H, man, he's doing his thing. Like, so their ratings and like they're starting the build for WrestleMania now. They used to wait till the Rumble, but Randy Orton comes back, CM Punk, like they're hot right now. If you're a wrestling fan and you're not watching WWE, you're missing out. They got a lot of things moving in the right direction.
So if you even watched what he said in his second appearance, he said, "I am here to get paid." That answers your own question.
Yeah, but is that a work or a shoot?
No, I don't feel like he's looking out for anybody but himself. That's what he always does.
That's what he always does, right? Isn't that the moniker? And then,
well, hey, if you're a professional wrestler, are you not an independent contractor?
Well, if you work for WWE, you are. But I think AEW might be a little different. But the thing
here's my thing though. So we've got CM Punk came back. Randy Orton came back. You have, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, so there's like 6 people that came back in the last like 3 months, but those 2 big names. But like, what is AEW going to do? Like, how do they maintain? Because the arenas aren't selling out, and like, Edge is your guy.
Yeah, I mean they need to do better than elevate. They got to build some of their own talent. You can't just get what is quote unquote WWE cast-offs and try to build off of that. So they have that with MJF, and MJF is great. But the question is, like, will they keep him forever, or is he going to go to WWE?
There's no way he's staying.
I mean, you wouldn't think.
There's so much momentum right now.
I mean, they signed a guy named Will Ospreay, who's a big indie guy, but like that's where you're at. Until you establish it, like you've got to have you got to build a better product that's going to captivate the casual wrestling fan, because diehards are going to go watch AEW. But like the person that's flipping through the channels, are they going to stop on AEW? They're not really giving you a reason to right now. And I'm not knocking the product, but I know who Roman Reigns is. But do you guys know who Swerve Strickland is?
No, I know who.
That's my point.
He's
a big
the
guy.
Cassidy kid.
Orange Cassidy?
Yeah,
that's because I dressed up as him for fantasy.
Well, my kid's got a jacket that looks like he would wear it.
He's got a great intro song. He plays Jane by Jefferson Starship.
Thing about AEW is that I would see it taking them longer to fold for the simple reason they have so much money behind it. The Khan
they're
family.
making money. Like, here's the thing. They don't make as much off I mean, they make money off the ticket sales and whatnot, but AEW doesn't really run house shows, but they have the TV deal. And the TV deal is what pays the bills. And
the thing that helps them
owner.
With that TV deal is the fact they cut both their TV shows in the same night. Like we went.
Right.
They do their Wednesday night one live, and then they cut the Friday night show after that one.
All you need to know is since they've started, they went from 1 show to 3 shows. So, I mean, TNT and TBS wouldn't be throwing money out there if they weren't getting a benefit from the advertisers there. So that's what I think.
What always blew my mind, though, is how Cody Rhodes is one of the biggest proponents of that, and now he's back where he was supposed to be all along.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened. Something happened behind the scenes that we don't know the story about. But honestly, the biggest problem with the AEW run for Cody is, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I'm a wrestling mark, so I'll watch this stuff. But Cody, in like the first 3 months he was in AEW, he wanted a rematch with somebody, and he's like, I promise if I lose, I'll never challenge for the world title again. Well, he lost, and like this should be your face of the company. Like, you see how big he is in WWE. Like, he's a big star. How do you say that you can't let him have a title shot? That's stupid. Dumbass things wrestling booking companies do.
Well, that's like a Bischoff move.
It is like a Bischoff move. But I was going to ask you, though, because you brought it up. I think you know who CM Punk's WrestleMania opponent will be.
I'm guessing Seth Rollins.
That's what I'm assuming.
It's Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
So they have, and wrestling is great whenever you blur the lines of reality, right? Like, even wrestlers are their best when they turn the volume up to 11 and they're just themselves. So Seth Rollins and CM Punk have had a little feud online for a couple years. And then on his return, he kind of off camera was overreacting to it. But, people were there they know what they're doing.
Well, they make sure that happens after the show goes off the air. So
but they let it leak out on social media. Oh, did you see what Seth Rollins' reaction was? Like, it doesn't hit the news till the next.
They do that on purpose.
They're smart.
Great story.
It's super intelligent. So I applaud.
Because he's been gone a decade, and like, I've been busting my ass, and now you're going to come back in. It's like, screw him.
But my question is,
even the funny thing is, those Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever the hell his name is now, also said the same thing from the AEW perspective. The Rollins is saying no comment.
Yep, absolutely. So here's my question. If it comes down to Seth Rollins and CM Punk, who's going to end up being the heel and who's the face in that feud?
Seth Rollins plays a great heel.
He's a face right now.
I know. It would be a nice flip.
I think the way he's being a little whiny ass right here is going to make him out to be the villain.
You've been paying attention.
I think that's going to make, because CM Punk came in and he's going to be like, and they'll be like, oh, you're just whining because like he come rolling in.
I haven't been watching. I watched Survivor Series. I watched Monday, and you're 100% right. Seth is starting to whine a little bit about it. Even when he came out to cut his promo, the crowd was chanting CM Punk. They know. That's how good they are. They're just making the fans play into it. But then he's out there. He's like, go ahead. Get it out of your system. Like, he's acknowledging it. So there's something being built there.
Yep.
And I'll watch it. That'll be great. I'll tune in.
The best crowd cheer I've seen in the last week was when Randy Orton was out there, which you didn't mention. His return is bigger to me than CM Punk, but that's another story for another day. But he's in the ring with Rhea Ripley, and who's your daddy?
Mommy.
Who's your daddy?
I don't know if I've seen Randy Orton look more jacked.
He's ripped. He got on that Hulk Hogan vitamins diet.
I think you can tell he just hasn't been traveling, right? Like, he got healed up, and I think they were just waiting on the right time to bring him back.
He's jacked.
So he's just been sitting at home, like, just.
He joined the Scott Steiner regimen.
Yeah, big bad booty daddy.
I'm telling you, that's what's going on.
He's got a 33.3% chance of being on steroids.
He is ripped. Like, he's the point, like, where The Rock is, like, kind of uncomfortable, because remember he would just, like, jump up from the crouch position, but now he's too bulky. Same thing with Randy Orton. You can still do the RKO, but you're not going to be that apex predator he once was, bulked up like this.
Yeah, he came back with a purpose. Did you see him hit the RKO off the guy doing the flip off the cage?
I did see that.
That was pretty sharp. Dude was jumping off the cage, and he catches him in the RKO, Biggie. It was
my
nice.
God, there's pipe on there. That freaking thing of Jim Ross narrating, he's RKO in a helicopter and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the video of just Randy Orton running around RKOing things.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
That is. I feel like it's like 15 years old, but I can still watch it like it just came out. It's amazing.
You had to have wanted to RKO someone on Black Friday.
In my big box retail days, absolutely. I felt like you were trying to stop the freaking Night Watch. It was like Dawn of the Dead, and you're in the mall. Barricade.
I watched that last night.
The remake?
No, the original.
The OG.
Ving Rhames.
Oh, no, that's the remake.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the first one.
That one's 20 years old, though.
And, oh, my God, it is.
Chad,
Have they remade it again?
I mean,
They might have.
because so real quick about music preferences, two things I love. The fact that the Down with the Sickness is in a classical version.
I forgot about that. It's like a Frank Sinatra version.
Correct.
Yes.
And then you have the Johnny Cash.
I don't remember that.
The very beginning. You don't remember that?
What are they playing? I remember the beginning is like
When the man comes around.
Oh,
That's in the very
I
beginning.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's been a while since.
Do you
I've
remember
seen
that
it.
song though?
I do remember the song.
Yeah. So they play that in the beginning because it's showing the apocalypse happen, and so it's showing
Is
him
it
with
when
his,
she's leaving the hospital?
yeah. So
and
it's
all
showing
that?
him with his
Okay.
Jesus, like song, and it gets crazy.
I'll always like that one. And I think you had like 28 Days Later and some other things come
yeah.
out, but it was the first time you saw like athletic zombies.
Exactly.
Like now that they can sprint.
I appreciated this one though because it had some comedy in there because like there was a horde of zombies outside of the mall and they were talking to old dude across the street who was the sniper dude.
Yeah,
the signs.
They had the sign.
They'd hold the sign like hit Rosie O'Donnell, hit Jay Leno, hit
they were
Arsenio
calling
Hall.
out the doppelgangers.
No, and then they said, "No, don't hit Rosie. That's too easy."
And they're talking to the dude all movie long, and he holds up a sign. It's just covered in blood.
Yeah, then
Like,
he-
he's gone.
Yeah, he's done.
South Park did a mirror image of that movie where instead of zombies, it was just the homeless.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Everything you just said happened.
Yeah.
It was just homeless people. That's how it is in California now, I think. But anyway, I think I'm ready to wrap this show up and jump over and do the NFL picks. But we'll watch Oppenheimer, and I will do it as sober as I can be to make sure I enjoy it. It's a complete appreciation. But, hey, we appreciate everybody letting us invade your eardrums once again. We missed you over the holiday weekend, but thanks for coming back to us. If you're finding us for the first time, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, any platform, anywhere you can go. Follow us on social media. You heard the plug earlier. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Get ready for Christmas. It's coming, guys. If you ain't done your shopping, go get it done. It's going to be around the corner, but we'll see you next week. Enjoy your football weekend. Enjoy your conference championships. The CFP final will come out Monday. We'll be back next week to talk about it. This has been the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. Have a great weekend. See you next time. Bye-bye.